Hi, welcome to MediatorPodcast.com, a podcast and video series about mediation, negotiation, and collaboration. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I provide online valuation, divorce, and mediation services in St. Louis, Missouri. Today, we're going to discuss an important topic, divorce, mediation, and grief, and why healing is important with Karen Millon. Karen is the founder of Healin, Healin with no G. She's an experienced entrepreneur in the healthcare space. She is a transformational coach. She's also host of the Healin podcast and author of An Amazing Divorce. Well, and I think that, there are a lot of people out there that have gone through something in their life that has kind of led everything to change, right? And a lot of people, especially in the divorce arena, want to try to find a different way to get divorced because it does affect each of the individuals and it affects the children. But I think that, what people are sometimes missing is it is work, and it is sometimes hard work because it's introspection. And in some cases, I see a fair amount of divorces in my work. And I usually will tell people, like, no one's going to stay the same as when they were 18, 25, 35, 45, right? But normally a relationship that I see will usually stand the test of time. They're going to zig and zag together, right? So they're going to get healthy or they're going to get not healthy, right? They're going to do things together or they're going to start doing different things. And some of the conflict comes from that. Some of the conflict comes from communication issues or self-esteem issues. But the one that we're talking about today is really something that people don't necessarily understand unless they are either in the throes of divorce, usually not a great one, right? Or they're trying to figure out, like, why is this happening, right? But what comes up is very similar to grief. And I don't think people are ready for it, right? And so how do you think grief relates or comes into the divorce process? And why do you think that there's so much alike? There's so much about losing, like, it's just divorce, right? It shouldn't be that big of a deal, because that's what people say to themselves.
Yes, so I personally think that grief is the start of the healing process. And divorce is trauma. Divorce has actually been categorized by the Substance Abuse and Mental Association in America as trauma. Mm-hmm. It is second to death. It is the death of your dreams, the death of your vision, the death of your identity. I mean, I wanted my divorce. I've been in therapy for 4 years of how unhappy I was, and I had to cry my eyes out for a year because I was Karen and Anthony, and he was Karen and Anthony, and we had a beautiful home, and we had cottages, and we had people invited every weekend for visits, and it was the death of my in-laws. I think I stayed married for 10 years because I loved my in-laws. They were my mom and dad. Mm-hmm. I was bedridden with placenta previa on my first pregnancy, and it was my father-in-law who came over, moved in with me, fed me 3 times a day, helped me to the bathroom. I mean, he was my dad. We yelled, we tickled, we hugged, we screamed. Like, it was such a loss of tradition, a loss of Christmas, of Thanksgiving, of everything you knew. And I think that we don't treat divorce as such. We don't treat it as a death. The minute that we are left or we decide to leave or someone's having an affair and they get caught and everyone puts their boxing gloves on and start fighting. And who's keeping the house and who's keeping the kids and who's keeping the cottage and who's keeping the car and and the funds and the money and the valuation and when it's really, you are at the worst time of your life and you're grieving a massive loss. And I see it again and again with a lot of my clients. I have had clients who come to me 4 years after and they are divorced and they're dating 4 people who they realize it's the same husband, just a different face, or the same wife, a different face. And when I asked them if they grieve, they never did. Some of them were so excited to get divorced. They threw a party right after. They painted the house. They moved the furniture. They had a really good time and didn't go through the grieving process. So some of the things that I help them do is to go through that process, because we all need to grieve. We all need tears. We hate to cry, but flowers need water to grow. And it's better outside than inside your body. There's a lot of research now to say that, trauma is not a memory. Trauma is a feeling. Trauma is a reaction you have in your body when your ex calls you or texts you and you feel that agitation. It's in your body. There's a lot of research that unresolved trauma, unresolved tears are behind cancer, heart disease, obesity. It's important to honor the grieving process. So I have 3 chapters in my book on how I grieved, how I helped my ex grieve, my children. They didn't want to cry. They're like, "We're fine, Mom, we're fine." I'm like, "No, it's sad. That is moving out of our home. That's sad."
Well, and one thing that you said that I think is really important is that you wanted this, right? You wanted it for a long time. You went into therapy in order to get ready for it, to plan for it. And the reality is, what people would say or would think on the outside would be like, well, Karen, you wanted this. So why are you grieving when it's what you wanted? And I think that is a catch, right? That's a catch, is that we can want it and we can know that it's best for us, right? Maybe it's not a healthy relationship, or maybe it's even a toxic relationship, right? For you. But we can also be sad because it is different than what we thought. And I think that's where the key is. It's not that the person broke up with you and that you're so sad. It can be your choice. And it can still be the loss of what you thought it was going to look like.